when the truth flies. Maria, 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 say it loud, no veil, no shadow, no hiding shroud. Maria, Maria.
Let's stop sugarcoating it and call it exactly what it is. Racism today isn't always some loudmouth yelling slurs in your face, though that garbage still happens. The real, deep damage comes from systems built to keep certain groups locked out of wealth, opportunity, and basic dignity. It's quiet, it's structural, and it's been running on autopilot for centuries. Here's the brutal, no BS breakdown. First off, forget the cartoon version where racism equals personal bigotry alone. Modern American racism thrives in the fine print. Hiring algorithms that quietly filter out black and brown names, mortgage denials that hit harder in minority zip codes. School districts funded by property taxes that guarantee rich, mostly white, areas get better everything while poorer, disproportionately non-white, ones scrape by. It's baked into policing stats, sentencing disparities, healthcare outcomes, and who gets believed when they report a crime. These aren't accidents. They produce consistent racial gaps without anyone needing to scream the N-word. Now zoom out to the money trail, because that's where the truth gets ugly. America's wealth didn't just happen along racial lines by coincidence. Slavery built massive fortunes for white families and zero generational wealth for enslaved black people and their descendants. After emancipation, Jim Crow laws, sharecropping traps, and violent intimidation blocked black progress. Indigenous nations had their lands stolen outright and handed to settlers. Then came redlining in the 20th century, government-backed maps literally marking black neighborhoods as high risk, so banks refused loans, trapping families in renting instead of owning and building equity. Discriminatory GI Bill access post-WW2, exclusion from unions, lower-wage labor tracks for immigrants. The list stacks up. Result: today's racial wealth gap isn't random bad luck, it's the direct descendant of deliberate racial engineering. That history shows up now as what some call financial indifference. Entire communities get starved of investment, crumbling infrastructure, shuttered hospitals, schools without books or heat, job deserts where living wage work vanished decades ago, higher police presence but zero urgency for economic revival. It doesn't always feel like active malice. It feels like nobody in power gives a damn enough to change it. That neglect is racism in slow motion. Systems that let inequality fester because the people hurt by it aren't the ones writing the checks or passing the laws. But don't get it twisted, racism isn't only about economics. If it were just class, then rich black folks, wealthy Latinos, or successful Asians would skate through life discrimination-free. They don't. They still get followed in stores, pulled over for driving while black/brown, questioned about belonging in upscale spaces, or passed over for promotions despite credentials. Poor white communities deal with brutal poverty, opioid crises, and despair, but they don't face the same racial profiling, stereotype threat, or institutional suspicion layered on top. Race operates independently even when money is equal. It shapes perceptions, treatment, safety, and belonging in ways dollars alone can't erase. The sharpest way to frame it: racism and economic inequality in America are deeply entangled twins. They feed each other, amplify each other, and often wear the same face, but they're not the exact same thing. A huge chunk of what people experience as racism right now flows through economic channels: blocked access to capital, opportunity deserts, under-resourced neighborhoods, and institutional blind spots that keep the cycle spinning. It's not just financial indifference. It's racialized financial indifference, designed and maintained over generations. Bottom line: racism isn't merely about hating someone's skin color. It's a system that continues to hoard wealth, power, and life chances for some while denying them to others, often under the guise of neutral policies and colorblind indifference. Until we admit that economic inequality is one of racism's favorite hiding spots, we're not fixing anything. Truth doesn't bend for comfort. Face it, own it, change it. Mexicans are indigenous, the raw truth no one wants to say out loud. Let's get real and drop the polite filters. When folks say Mexicans are native or indigenous, they're hitting on a deep historical fact that gets buried under politics and ignorance. This isn't feel-good fluff. It's straight history, genetics, and reality. Here's the unvarnished breakdown. Long before any European boot touched the soil, the land we now call Mexico was home to powerhouse indigenous civilizations for thousands of years. We're talking advanced societies like the Aztec Mexica, who built empires with massive cities and complex systems. The Maya, masters of astronomy, writing, and architecture. The Zapotec and Mixtec with their intricate art and governance. The ancient Olmec, often called the mother culture. Of Mesoamerica, Purépecha warriors who resisted Aztec expansion, Totonac builders of stunning pyramids, and dozens more groups thriving across the region. These were the original people of that land, native to the Americas in the truest sense. Then came 1519. Hernán Cortés and his Spanish forces rolled in, toppled the Aztec Empire by 1521, and kicked off centuries of brutal colonization. Spain didn't just conquer, they reshaped everything. Spanish men intermarried, or forced unions, with indigenous women, creating the mestizo population that forms the majority of Mexico today, people with blended indigenous and European bloodlines. Later, enslaved Africans were forcibly brought in, adding another layer to the genetic and cultural mosaic. The result: modern Mexicans carry a spectrum of ancestries, some fully indigenous, many heavily indigenous, most mestizo with strong native roots, and others with African or more European influence. But here's the key point people love to dodge. Mexican is purely a nationality. It means you're a citizen of Mexico. It says zero about your race or bloodline. Mexico is a rainbow nation, racially indigenous, mestizo, white, black, Asian influences, you name it. Spanish became the dominant language because of conquest and centuries of control, but indigenous languages like Nahuatl, Maya, Mixtec, Zapotec, and dozens more are still spoken by millions right now. Today, Mexico officially recognizes over 68 indigenous peoples and languages. Millions of Mexicans proudly identify as indigenous. They live in their traditional communities, speak their ancestral tongues, wear their cultural clothing, practice ancient ceremonies, and fight for land rights and recognition. Even among those who identify as mestizo, DNA tests routinely show significant, often majority, indigenous ancestry. The native blood didn't vanish, it runs through the veins of most of the population. So when people declare Mexicans are native to America or Mexicans are indigenous, they're usually pointing to this undeniable truth. The vast majority of Mexicans descend, directly and substantially, from the original inhabitants of the continent who were here for millennia before Columbus or Cortés showed up. Those original peoples are precisely who we mean by indigenous or Native American in the broader sense. It's not erasing anyone's mixed heritage. It's acknowledging the dominant ancestral root that colonization tried and failed to wipe out. This isn't about gatekeeping or division, it's about owning the facts. Denying indigenous roots to Mexicans is just another way to diminish native history across the Americas. The land called Mexico was indigenous first, and its people carry that legacy forward, whether they identify as such or not. Truth over comfort, always. Puerto Ricans are Americans, full stop, no debate. Let's cut through the nonsense right now. Puerto Ricans are straight-up U.S. citizens, born and raised under American sovereignty. Anyone trying to twist that fact is either ignorant or pushing an agenda. Here's the raw, unfiltered truth, laid out clear and direct. It started in 1898. After the Spanish-American War, Spain handed Puerto Rico over to the United States through the Treaty of Paris. Boom, the island became a U.S. territory overnight. Not an independent nation, not a colony in the old sense, but officially part of America. Fast forward to 1917. Congress passed the Jones-Shafroth Act, and just like that, everyone born in Puerto Rico became a U.S. citizen. This wasn't some half measure. It made them natural-born citizens in the eyes of U.S. law. Today, Under current statutes like those in the Immigration and Nationality Act, anyone born in Puerto Rico on or after January 13, 1941, is a citizen at birth, same as if they were born in New York, California, or Texas, as U.S. citizens. Puerto Ricans get the real deal on rights. They can pack up and move to any state on the mainland without a visa or green card nonsense. They work anywhere in the U.S. freely. They serve proudly in the U.S. military and have for generations with massive enlistment rates. They carry full U.S. passports. If they relocate to a state, they vote in presidential elections like everyone else. But here's where the territory status bites. Puerto Rico isn't a state. It's an unincorporated territory. That means residents on the island can't vote for president unless they move stateside. They send a non-voting delegate to Congress, someone who can talk, but not cast deciding votes. Federal laws still apply. The island has its own local constitution and government since 1952, but full voting representation. Nope, not yet. Taxes. Most don't pay federal income tax on income earned in Puerto Rico, though they pay other federal taxes like Social Security and Medicare. It's a weird setup that leaves a lot of inequality hanging in the air. Now, the cultural side, and this is real talk. Legally, Puerto Ricans are 100% American citizens, but culturally, many put Puerto Rican identity first. Their language, Spanish, thrives. Traditions, history, music, food. That's not contradictory, it's human. Some push hard for full statehood to get equal rights. Others want independence. Plenty prefer keeping the current Commonwealth/territory status with tweaks. The island's people are divided on the future, and that's their call, but none of that changes the legal citizenship fact. Bottom line, Puerto Ricans have been U.S. citizens for over a century. The island flies under American sovereignty. Denying that is just flat-out wrong. This isn't about politics or romance. It's cold, hard law and history. Anyone spreading misinformation about it, especially to question their Americanness, needs to sit down and read the actual facts. We stand on truth here. No sugarcoating, no romanticizing anyone or any side, just the reality. I love you all. I appreciate every one of you, and I thank you for your time. Stay blessed. Feel free to follow for more words of wisdom and prayers. Feel free to subscribe so that you never miss my posts, and feel free to comment. Love always. Santiago, DC, Maria.